So what is our faith based upon? Evidence that appeals to our reason. And evidence is what? What would you define evidence as?
Fact.
Pardon?
Fact.
Facts?
Law.
Design laws. Okay, yes, design law. Protocols upon which reality work. That's a good evidence. Experiences, evidences. These are things which confirm or refute. They're data, facts, evidence, they're things that confirm or refute. And they give confidence in things. The three threads of evidence that God has provided for us, He's given us three threads.
Nature.
Science and nature, God's divine nature is seen in what He has made so that men are without excuse. Romans 1:20. So nature and science, the reality that He's created, the created world.
His word.
Scripture. All Scripture's been given, God breathed, for the purpose of training, correcting, teaching, and rebuking in righteousness. Scripture. Experience. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Experience me. He's given us three threads of evidence that reveal that we are to examine and consider and harmonize. When we harmonize the three threads, and all three come to the same conclusion, Scripture teaches it, science shows it, our life experiences prove it, we can have confidence for standing on truth. When we split up the threads, as you know, we split the threads, we have problems. Science alone leads to godlessness. Experience alone leads to mysticism and the mystical religions. And Scripture alone, confusion. We have 35, 40,000 different Christian groups now teaching the Bible teaches this or that or the other thing. Because Scripture pulled away and unanchored from the created reality that our Creator built, you can make it and say almost anything you want. So we look at that. We have evidences for the existence of God. Let's go over some of them very quickly. Evidences from Scripture. Then we're going to look at science and we're going to look at experience. Evidence for the existence of God from Scripture. Just real quick. Creation. The creation story. Okay, we have the creation story. Any other?
Fulfilled prophecy.
Fulfilled prophecy is a good one. He knows the future, and those prophecies, as they work out, really good evidence that there's an intelligence beyond our ability. Yeah, good one. I like that.
What?
The historical accuracy of Scripture. Yes. The design laws described within Scripture. The life of Jesus, in my view, is a very powerful testimony. All right, science and nature. Where do we see God in science and nature?
Everywhere.
Everywhere that you have discernment. That's good. I like that. I like that. So some specific ones, the laws upon which reality built, the law of love, the law of liberty, the law of truth, the law of worship, the law of exertion, laws of health, all these design laws and protocols that are constants and never change. Okay? The reliability of his life and health promoting laws that we see. Like the law of exertion, if you want something to get stronger, you exercise it, because if you don't use it, you lose it. This is the law. It's a law of every aspect of your being, whether it's neurological or physical or muscular, wherever. The complexity of life itself. Do you understand there's not one organism, living organism in the world that can be alive without multiple pieces having to come into existence simultaneously? In other words, one piece of the organism can't be built and then wait for other millions of years or even thousands of years or even a few days for the other pieces to be built and added to it. In order for it to have life, multiple pieces had to be there simultaneously for it to actually function. But the evolutionary theory teaches that one piece came along, and then over millions of years, another piece came along and joined it, and then another piece came along and joined it. It's ridiculous for any thinking person. How about second law of thermodynamics, which is things tend towards disorder. Without intelligent input, things decay over time. They don't become more organized and structured over time. And you can test this. This is very testable. It's a law. It works. And I think this particular second law of thermodynamics is an evidence of Adam and Eve's sin. I think prior to Adam and Eve's sin, the earth was bathed in God's life-giving glory. And God's life-giving glory was constantly sustaining life, and there was no decay. But when they sinned, his energy input from the intelligent creator was veiled, and things began to decay. You're sinning, you dying, you will die. And so we see the decay. Walk away from your home, leave it for 20 years, come back and see if it's in better condition than when you left it. It will decay. Okay? Our DNA decays. The genetic scientist, it's without question, every generation you have at least 1,000 new mutations that are damaging in your DNA that your parents didn't have. So you have 1,000 more than your parents, 2,000 more than your grandparents, 3,000 more than your great-grandparents. Every generation, the DNA of the human species is decaying.
We're not evolving, we're devolving.
We're exactly right. And so this is science, but wait, we need to follow the science, don't we? And we've understood in the last 2 years that the term follow the science in our society today means follow the opinions of people who have degrees, don't actually follow the scientific evidence. If you actually follow the evidence and disagree with the people who are given their opinion, then you're called a science denier. It's true, and this is, so this idea that's come in the last 2 years about people looking at evidence and disagreeing with the people in positions of authority, and if you don't believe the opinion, you're a science denier, that is not new. That has been happening for 50 years in our school systems on anybody who questions evolutionary theory. The evidence refutes it completely. I'll give you some more evidence. Life never comes from non-living materials or matter. Ask a scientist, hey, you believe that life comes from non-living stuff. You're a scientist, which means things have to be testable and reproducible. Can you show me anywhere where you can show life coming from non-living matter? They can't do it. It's never been done. Can't be done. We have a world that God created that every living organism comes from another living organism.
I think it would take a lot of faith to think that that did happen billions of years ago.
It is incredulous to any really observing, thinking, scientific mind. And this is what our world has done. It's conditioned people to actually ignore obvious evidences and accept opinions of people with degrees and who can talk authoritatively as if that is science. It is not. And then you mentioned DNA. DNA is coded information. It's not just molecules that maybe burst on the scene because of a primordial soup and electrical spark and suddenly we have a DNA molecule. Even if you have the molecules, they're like letters of the alphabet. The letters of the alphabet have to actually be arranged into words and then sentences and then chapters and then books in order for you actually to have the information to produce all the various elements of any living organism. So even if you allow for the spontaneous generation of the molecule itself, no credible, honest scientist has any belief that information organizes itself without an intelligence. You cannot code a computer and write a computer code program randomly by forces of nature. And all living organisms have coded information in their DNA, and that coded information. And so those that are attempting to be more honest with the data will say things like, well, we really don't believe anymore that life started on Earth randomly on its own. We believe it was seeded here millions of years ago by aliens. And when they say that, you just say, well, welcome to Genesis 1. An extraterrestrial, non-Earth-based intelligence came and terraformed a planet and put life here. That's Genesis 1. You're a creationist. They don't like it.
Imagine that.